All right, welcome everyone. This is the monthly workshop focused on vision building and cultivating support systems and support systems as an act of radical self-care. I was talking before I started the recording about how I have a million pages of notes for this topic, but I'm going to make sure to keep everything brief and contained within this hour. If you're watching the recording will probably be a little bit less than an hour because I will be pausing when we do like journaling things or things when I'm not talking, and you can feel free to pause the video at those times, take your time to do the activity, and then press play to come on back. So just know that there will be some of those times in there. Just to dive in, the purpose of today's workshop, monthly I'm doing workshops, and every month it will revolve around this idea of vision building and building the vision for the life that you want to live. However, I will also be tying in different themes to go along with that vision building activity that will kind of mix it up a little bit and give you a slightly different experience each month. If you have done a workshop with me before, you've done the visualization, sort of, but I love having people do the ideal life visualization on repeat, because what I find is that the vision changes a little bit each time, or it evolves. I've done this several times, and I've done it more like once a year or once every 6 months or something like that. And it's always really fascinating to see how that vision evolves. I had a client recently who were dealing with some perfectionist things. She's probably going to be on this today, so hello. But and thinking about the idea of showing up to the first visualization or every visualization as a practice round, right? Like, this is not something where you are mapping out your life and that is the only way that it can go. And so if you get it wrong, you're screwed. That's not how this works. That's not what we're doing here. So I encourage you to approach all of the practices that we do today with that open mind, that mindset of I'm exploring, I'm allowing myself to change my mind from the last time that I did this, and I'm allowing myself to see what comes up without being overly attached to it. So the purpose of today is really to gather an understanding of the importance of support and how that plays into us taking care of ourselves, our self-care. Really focusing on some releasing practices around releasing the notion that, asking for help and support makes you weak or a burden or, incapable. I already have physical feelings about this, just talking about it. And really thinking through how you can take next steps after doing this workshop and what you can start to implement into your life. One of the things I talk about a lot in my coaching and on my Instagram and here is that the ideal life visualization, again, it's not a plan. It's just an idea. It's just something to align to. And there are often things in that visualization that you can implement right now, today, to start building the conditions, as my business coach likes to say, for that life, right? Like, not everything in your future life is this wild, extravagant, crazy thing. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I get up in the morning and I drink water before I drink coffee. That's interesting. So we'll think about little things that you can implement in your life as well. Basically, how this is going to go, I'm going to do a little bit of talking, as I already have in the beginning, about this idea of building your vision and cultivating support systems. Then we're going to go into a brief visualization. Following that, we will do a little bit of a release and emotional freedom technique script to kind of start to release some of those feelings around asking for help. And then we'll talk a little bit about reframing and setting goals, small, tangible little goals that you can put into place now to start living your ideal life today. Okay. All right. So diving into support systems. when I talk about support systems, this can be something that's extremely formal. It can be something that's extremely informal. It can be something that like you even forget is there, right? It's not something that you're always having to hold so tightly to. It's just a framework and an idea of like how you can make sure that you are supported and thriving in your life. One of the things that I know comes up for me and that I've been working on a lot lately being like over the last 18 months, and maybe you struggle with this too. It's not only the asking for help and support, it's the also having the security and presence of mind to actually accept help when it is offered to you. Now, we've all probably heard it before, but I'm just going to share this little tidbit. Dr. David McClellan, who is a renowned social scientist and Harvard professor and author, all the things, he found in his research that 95% of your success or failure in life is determined by the people who you habitually associate. So, digging into that, yes, just by having awesome, amazing, wonderful, kind, supportive people in your life, statistically, you will become more awesome, right? Just that's what he said. That's how it is. But I like to look at that and think, you know, if you were upfront with all of those amazing people in your life about how they could support you and you accepted that support from them, how much more amazing would your life be, right? It's not just the association piece, it's the actual asking and receiving help, love, and support. So story time here. About a year ago, I started doing some personal healing work with Tess here in Salt Lake City. Tess eventually graduated me for reasons I did not quite know at the time, but now I look back on and laugh. And she encouraged me and invited me to start working with someone that she worked with in a business coaching standpoint, Charlie. So I did. I started working with Charlie, and literally like 3 weeks into what was supposed to be, I think, a 3-month experience together, Charlie was basically like, hey, Tess and I want you to join us to work together on this idea that we have. We think that you might be interested in. And that, me kind of listening, me being vulnerable, and me allowing these brand new people into my life who I didn't know, and letting them kind of guide me and welcome me in has completely changed the path, like the trajectory of my business, my life, etc. All of that turned into building the partnership that is now Aspen Collective, and something that I will talk about not on this workshop, but in another time. And the path for me to start really rebuilding what I realized was shaken confidence in myself. And so through Tess and Charlie, I've started to build a community in Salt Lake. That took about 1.5 years, 2 years. Through them, I've booked clients. I've started pursuing multiple professional ventures. And this all led to another community, a community of women here in Salt Lake who are all entrepreneurs who really wanted to come together and support one another in our businesses. And that group really started to help me harness in on my confidence and my energy to really take big leaps in my business. And so I share this because if a year ago, I had decided not to take the leap to work with Tess, to get help for myself, and all of the other beautiful choices that I made along the way in terms of allowing people to step in and support me and uplift me and give me the confidence that I was lacking at the time, I would not be where I am right now. I don't know where I would be. I don't know what my business would have been like. I don't know if I would have been able to continue pursuing this entrepreneurial venture had I not had this community of support that I've started building around me. And that's just one like business example. But I'm sure that all of you have examples in your life of times where you had a choice whether to ask for or accept help or not, and what happened when you did or when you didn't. These decisions, this trust, the vulnerability that it took to meet new people and trust them and join them on their paths and allow them to join me on mine, that is the only reason that I'm where I am now. Support systems and asking for help have been my most purposeful professional decision and also my most radical act of self-care. My life and my work have radically started to transform. And they started the moment that I decided and became aware of two things. One, the number of times that I said no to people offering me help. And two, the number of times I have reached out for support and people have enthusiastically gone above and beyond to help me. I want you to take a few minutes right now just to think about those two things in your own life. How many times has someone offered you help and you've denied it? And on the flip side, how many times have you asked for help and people have enthusiastically stepped in to support you? Feel free to grab your notebook and take some notes on this. It will come up a little bit throughout the rest of our time together today. But I think it's important to really start to understand how often we are pushing support away in an interest of being independent, in an interest of not seeming needy, right? But then also on the flip side, when someone asks us for help, at least me, so I'll speak in I statements here. When someone asks me for help, I often drop everything in order to do that because I truly enjoy helping the people in my life that I love. I truly enjoy being supportive and making their lives easier. And so why do I assume that when I ask someone else for help, they don't feel the exact same way? Right? So for today's visualization, it's going to be a little bit different this time. If you've done them in the past, you'll see the difference. If not, just enjoy. But essentially, it's going to be focused on, yes, observing what your future life looks like, but then really focusing in on personal relationships and individuals who have supported you in getting to that dream life. And even like things you've delegated or like services you've used that have helped you get there, right? It's going to be really fun. I'm very excited about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Come to a comfortable seat. You can move onto the ground if you prefer to lay down. If you're comfortable where you are, I just recommend having your feet grounded on the earth, regardless of what position you're in, to help you kind of feel that grounding sensation. So I want you to take a moment to settle in. Take a few deep breaths, filling your lungs all the way to the top. And exhaling out through your mouth. Take the next few moments to release everything from your day, all those swirling thoughts, the to-dos, the things that didn't get done. I promise you can come back to them afterwards, but for now, I want you to settle in and close your eyes as we'll be walking through a guided visualization for the next several minutes. In this visualization, we'll be visiting a future version of yourself. Now, in your mind, I want you to start to paint a picture of this future you. Where do you live? What does your home look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like to be there? And taking just a moment to envision without limitations what this future home, life experience looks and feels like. And I want you to imagine that you're standing in front of this home, this future home with housing your future life. And then I want you to go ahead and walk in, taking a look around, taking it all in. What do you see? How does it feel? As you're looking around and slowly starting to explore your future home, I want you to start to mentally gather pieces of your future life and things about the future you. What is it this future you does to fill your time? Is it work, service, art, time in nature? Recognize both what you are doing in contribution to the world or your work, and also what you do in contribution to yourself on a daily basis. Take another few moments to explore your home, your life, how your future self looks. Maybe you see some pictures. And what feelings you're feeling as this is happening. Take this time to get the full picture of who your future self is, this most ideal future life that you've envisioned. Now, finding the coziest, comfiest corner in your home, I want you to sit down across from your future self because she's here with you now. And I want you to take this opportunity to not only take her in for all that she is, but also to ask your future self, how is it that she got here? Who helps her create this beautiful life? Who has been supporting her along the way? Who is it that helped her cultivate her work life? A friend, a family member, a mentor, a coach? Unsurprising to you now, she tells you that she doesn't do it all. Part of the reason that she lives her ideal life is because she doesn't do it all. So maybe you ask her, where does she get the help? Who helps her? Is it a nanny, a house cleaner, maybe a dog walker, a handyman, meal delivery? Hell, maybe a private chef. This is your ideal life after all. And since you didn't get there all by yourself, who is it that helped her? And finally, who does she turn to when things get ugly or hard, or when things start to fall apart? Together, you take the next few moments to reflect on all of the people, services, and support that go into you living your ideal life. and knowing what you know now about how this future you lives. How are you holding yourself back? What in your life could you hand over to your support system? As you start to wrap up your time with your future self, ask her for any advice on how to get from where you are now to where you're hoping to go. And now take this moment to thank your future self. And slowly taking your time, start to walk away from the life that you'll soon be living, knowing deep in your soul that this is not goodbye, it's see you later. Because what you want wants you. Slowly start to bring your attention back into the room, back into your body. Maybe wiggling out your fingers, your toes, slowly starting to bring small movements back and opening your eyes. And I want you to take the next 4 to 5 minutes to free write anything that came up. I'll give you some prompts in a minute or two, but I want you to just brain dump everything that came up for you. If you are watching the recording, please feel free to pause here. All right, as we wrap up this journaling exercise, know that you can always come back to this brain dump, to these thoughts. But I want to move us into a little bit of a release now, right? Because a lot of things can come up during the visualization that can lead to a decent amount of limiting beliefs, right? That, okay, yeah, sure, it's so easy to talk about asking for help, but to actually act on that can be a little bit harder. And so one of the things that I like to do is that, now that you've seen your visualization and the ways that you'll really need help and support in order to move yourself toward that ideal life, let's let go of some of those limiting beliefs, shall we? In some of those blocks that you might have around seeking support. So we're going to go one more time into closed eyes. You don't necessarily need to go into like a lay down position for this one. It'll be fairly brief. But just kind of coming back into your body, we're going to be exploring a little bit of embodiment here. So if it feels comfortable for you to close your eyes, do that now. Make sure your feet are planted firmly on the earth. Sit up tall. And I want you to repeat a few phrases that I'm going to share with you. And I want you to repeat them to yourself. It can be, in your head. You can say them out loud, whatever is most comfortable to you. And then as you say these phrases, I want you to very quickly acknowledge how you feel after you say them and where that feeling shows up in your body. Ready? I need help. I can't do everything by myself. I could really use some support right now. I just don't know how to do this by myself. I truly need help. Now, I want you to take just a minute in your journal, coming back into this space, to write about what's come up for you. What feelings did you feel? Where did you feel them in your body? And if anything's coming up around stories, what are the stories that you're telling yourself about those feelings and those thoughts? So, the pattern that we operate under, the habits, the way we show up, they're often programmed not only in our minds, but in our bodies. That's why I encourage you to not only identify your feelings with words, but to also identify where you feel them physically, because it's important not just to focus on thinking different thoughts, which is an activity that you can do to start to kind of shift your mindset, but it's actually far more beneficial to identify the feelings in your body and address them physically before you try to change thoughts in your mind, right? And so that's where emotional freedom technique comes in, EFT. So EFT is a practice that helps us to release negative beliefs that we're holding on to. And doing this practice, you may find that you feel like tired or kind of wiped out afterwards. You might yawn a lot during the process. If I yawn while I'm reading the script, I apologize. That's perfectly normal. You might feel like light and energized and happy, or you might feel kind of skeptical as we go through this process. So I just invite you to kind of go along with what we're going to be doing, and just observe how you feel afterwards. Again, everything is a practice. Nothing has to be life-changing or the most magical thing you've ever done, but maybe this ends up being a practice that is really helpful for you, right? So I'm going to take my glasses off because I need to get those out of the way. So essentially, we're going to be moving through tapping on different meridian points, and I will be saying phrases and things out loud, and you will also say them while tapping on the same spot. Cool. All right. So we're going to start with the karate chop, and we're just going to hang out here for a little bit. So repeat after me, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Even though I mustn't ask for help, I choose to love, honor, and accept myself. Even though I resist asking for help, and I really hate asking for help because I don't want to be a burden on others. Or maybe I just feel undeserving. And whatever my reasons might be for not asking for help, I choose to love, honor, and accept myself. Even though I hate asking for and allowing support because it feels like giving up my power and it makes me feel small. Even though I hate asking for help, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself and anyone else who may have played a part in this belief. I hate asking for help. I don't want to ask for help. It's not okay for me to ask for help. I truly believe I must not ask for help. And more than that, I shouldn't even accept help. If someone says, "Here, let me help you with that," I have to say no. It's okay. I've got it. I don't need any help. But what exactly am I trying to prove? Why won't I allow people to be of service? There are times that I've helped others, and it's been very satisfying for me. Why must I deprive others of that opportunity? There are a lot of people out there who would love to help me. And some, not so much. Maybe I've asked for help and been turned down. Maybe I've asked for help and been made to feel small. Maybe I've asked for help and been mocked or laughed at. And that was painful. It felt like rejection. It felt unsafe. So really, I'm taking care of me. By making sure I'm never in that situation again. And I'm clearing all of that out. Clearing all the meaning that I took from that experience. Like maybe that I wasn't deserving. Or the feeling that I was powerless or unsafe. That's not what it meant about me. Even if that's what the other person meant. They don't get to decide if I'm deserving. They just weren't the right person to help me. And that's okay. They aren't my people. The help I need is out there. And I'm allowing myself to ask for it. And I'm allowing myself to accept it. And maybe I've been told not to ask for support. Maybe I've been told I need to do it all on my own. But that's just misinformation. Because nobody does it all on their own. Being entirely self-made is a myth that I've bought into. Everybody's getting help from someone. No one does everything on their own. Even without knowing it, I'm already accepting help in all kinds of ways. And I choose to be okay with that. I choose to be really okay with that. And I choose to give others the opportunity to be of service to me. Maybe I don't like asking for help because I resent when other people ask me for help. All this resentment about being asked for help. I mean, where is that coming from? If I can't help them, I can just say no. If I don't want to help them, I can just say no. Just like others can tell me no. Maybe I feel bad about saying no. And maybe I do resent people for asking for help. Because they're forcing me to make a choice or have to say no. And I don't want to be a bad or unhelpful person. So it's a lot easier if they just don't ask. And I don't want to put anyone in that position. Maybe we all just need to get over ourselves. And maybe I can choose to be okay with saying no. And when I ask someone else for help, and they're not in a position to help me, I let go of the desire to take that personally. Letting go of the need to feel bad. Letting go of this fear that others will feel bad. Or that others will resent me. Or think I'm not good. Releasing the need to be viewed as good. Because there's so much good that can be done in this world. And the more we allow ourselves to ask for help, the more I give myself permission to ask for help. The more I know it's okay. Clearing the remaining hesitations. Clearing the remaining fears and doubt. I'm asking for help. And I'm allowing that help in. I'm accepting the help offered to me. It's a win-win situation. I can get the help I need. And I choose to be okay with needing it. And now the other person gets to be of service to me. I am worthy and deserving of support. I am allowing more help in my life. I am allowing others to support me. I am allowing this kind of love for myself. I am truly accepting support. in body, mind, and spirit. Taking a deep breath. EFT allows you to change your thoughts, change your patterns. It's a practice. It's something I do every day. So if anything in particular came up for you, please feel free to write it down. But really allowing yourself to acknowledge some of the things that were said in that session, right? We acknowledged the negative feelings. We also acknowledged the way that we want to feel moving forward. And so a big part of this workshop today has been all about reframing, right? We built that vision in the beginning, and then we worked through some of those limiting beliefs, some of those thoughts and patterns that keep us from seeking and accepting the support that we deserve and that we need. And so there are a couple of journal prompts that I have for you to consider, and you can do that now. You can take this with you, maybe relook at them every day this week and see what comes up differently. But in terms of reframing help, right? And taking away that belief that because you need help or because you ask for help or because you accept help that you're somehow inherently less than or worthless or something along those lines. I want you to reframe those thoughts. And I want you to think about what more could you do in your life if someone took something off of your plate? How much more could you give to the world? How much more joy could you bring into your life? How much more peace, health, whatever it is that you feel you're missing right now, how much more of that could exist if you let someone take something off your plate? How much more present to this current life that you're living could you be if you knew you weren't responsible for everything? Right? Thinking back to the vision of your ideal life, what of those things could you actually have right now? Could you implement in this exact moment if you let some other things go? So journaling prompts, how are you reframing help and support in your mind and in your life moving forward from today? And you'll get these in an email afterwards as well. When you think about the concept of help and support now, what do you think? And when you think back to those phrases that we talked about before we did the EFT and kind of the physical feelings that you had when you said those things to yourself, and when you say those out loud now, what feelings are you having? How does that feel physically when you say, I need help and I can't do everything by myself? Maybe it's different. How can you improve your life by asking for and accepting the help that you need? And then finally, and this is the real piece of homework moving forward, is who are your people? Right? Who are your people professionally? Who is helping support you in your work, your career, your dreams in that area? Who are the people that you could call up tomorrow and say, hey, I need to find a new job. Can you help me? Who are the people in your life who you can call and say, hey, I've had a really bad week. Can you come over and sit on the couch with me? Who are the people that will cook you dinner because you've worked 80 hours or because something sad or hard happened? And who are the people who are equally there to celebrate your wins, to make sure that you celebrate your own wins? it's important to find these different categories in your life, right? Because the people who help you in your career are not necessarily the people who are going to show up with dinner when something bad happens. Having these different sections of life, these different areas where I like to call them my board of directors. I did this when I started my business, but it works for life too, right? Like, who are your board of advisors? And those people don't need to know that they're on your board of advisors. Like Brene Brown is on mine and on my coaches. Like all of the coaches I've ever worked with have said the same thing. Like, I'm not going to actually call Brene because like she doesn't know who I am and I don't have her phone number. But I consider her to be part of my board of advisors because I would think about what she would do, or I would read the books that she's written or something like that to provide me with the kind of guidance that I needed in that moment. But on the flip side, I have actual physical human beings who I know that I could call at any time for a plethora of reasons. It doesn't mean I call them all the time. It doesn't mean that they're my best friend in the entire world. It doesn't mean that we're even in constant communication. It's just that I know that they're there when I need them, and knowing that they're there provides me a significant amount of relief. So how can you start to build out these categories in your life and just have them on paper somewhere so that you know that if anything were to come up, you don't have to handle it by yourself. You have those people. And then a practice that I want to encourage you to take on over the next couple of weeks is I want you to track when people offer you help or support or encouragement or even a compliment. And I want you to track what your response to that is and become really hyper aware of your response in those situations. Because this is really a practice that's more about gaining presence and awareness than it is about being right or wrong. But I want you to think about something as simple as like someone holding the door open for you and you saying, "No, I'm good, thanks." That's not encouraging support into your life, right? There are so many small things that people offer to help us with. And especially as women, and especially as women that were likely raised by a generation of women who were trying to figure out what feminism was and what being bold and independent meant, is that we were taught to not accept help from people because that made us weak. But in reality, the more that we can be welcoming to these small gestures of support, small gestures of even just kindness, right? The more likely it is that we're going to be able to really discern when we need help and support and be able to accept it in those challenging moments. Because accepting a free little gift from someone or a compliment or even an invitation, right? Accepting those things, when we start to get good at them and we start to recognize them and we start to show gratitude for those things being in our lives, that's how we build the skills that we need for when really challenging things happen, to be able to be like, okay, I need help now. This is it. This is the moment that I need support. And so I'm going to go forward and ask for it because I know how to accept that. So that's my challenge for you this week, is to really focus on that, on being present to those small moments that show up in your life and finding a way to show gratitude for them. And with that, I leave you. That is our session for today. That's our workshop for today. I hope that you are walking away with some thoughts, some different ways to look at the world. I hope that maybe your vision for your ideal life now includes a set of things that you need help in. For me, it's a weekly house cleaner. And at this particular moment, a personal chef would be ideal, but maybe I'll start off with some meal services or something like that, right? Because those are the things that I know I need help with right now, and that would make my life a lot better and would make me able to pay attention to the other things in my life that actually bring me joy. So how can you ask for help on the things that are weighing you down so that you can spend more time and energy on the things that lift you up? If you have questions or comments or big ahas that you just really want to share, I encourage you to email those to me. And I love to hear what your reactions are to the workshop. And with that, I will leave you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are watching this right now. And I will hopefully see you next month for our next workshop series. All right, y'all. Bye.